a playlist original.
Hey, what's up? It's your host, Tori, and who is ready to be petty? Welcome back to another episode of RTBP. I am so glad you're here. I hope you're having a great week. I am a little bit boy sick, which means that I have the mildest form of a cold, like barely a sore throat and runny nose, but I'm acting like I just came back from war and need to be, like taken out to the seaside in a rocking chair, like wrapped in blankets to just, reflect on my life as I'm going to pass away soon. And I don't know, that's been kind of getting me down. Like I had to cancel a bunch of yoga classes and stuff like that. But, we're pushing through. We're being strong. And this week, because of said illness, I started the TV show Shadowhunters on Netflix. Has anybody watched that? I think that there's like 3 or 4 seasons. It's very much like a bad version of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So if you were a fan of Buffy, I don't know, maybe you can check it out. But yeah, it's bad dialogue, like bad costumes, like pretty bad acting and stuff like that. But like, I don't know. I'm on like season 1, episode 4. And I know that there's a bunch of really good TV that I could be watching. But here I am watching Shadowhunters. And then the last update from me last week, I went to Target. So as I'm sure all of you know, I'm from Canada. Canada doesn't have Target anymore. Rest in peace. And my sister and I drove down to Bellingham, which was very exciting. I was just like, you know what? I really feel like we just need to walk through a Target in, I was going to say in a calm manner, but like we were in like a fever state. So we just drove down there. It was super fun. We got Taco Bell, Trader Joe's, and Target. So I'm thinking we should call it like a triple T's run or something like that. And it was super fun. And I got like super cute stuff. And I just wish we could rewind to 2015 when Canada had Target. My God. Over on Patreon this week, I did an episode about Miley Cyrus, her pettiest moments throughout her career. So her feud with Demi, her and Selena Gomez, clapping back at tabloids, her feud with Nicki Minaj and Katy Perry, a little bit about her relationship with Liam Hemsworth, which obviously comes up a lot with her new song Flowers. So we are getting into all of the supposed Easter eggs in the music video and why they could be true or they could be fake. So you can check that out on Patreon, patreon.com/RTBP podcast. And then next week I have my interview with Goldie Moldowski, who wrote Lord of the Fly Fest, which is the first book we did over on Patreon as a book club. And we are in the midst of picking our second book. So it's a great time to join if you want a little monthly book club. And yeah, we're just picking a genre and then we're going to do a vote on one of the books we pick. And then I am also covering The Circle and the Traitors. I believe it's going to be over on Patreon with Nicholas. So that's going to be super fun to dive into that absolute juicy, like chef's kiss perfection reality TV. I want to shout out Brooklyn, which truly the only Brooklyn I love nowadays, since Brooklyn Beckham could be the cringiest person I've ever met in my entire life. Not that I've met him, but the cringiest person I've ever witnessed in my entire life. So Brooklyn, thank you so much for being an official Petty Betty. And Kim from the UK, I was like, oh, I should do an accent. And I was like, I need to really stop with my British accent. I thought, okay, so you know how the Harry memoir came out and he quoted the Spice Girls, and then the audiobook clip of him singing like Spice Up Your Life or whatever, or If You Want to Be My Lover, went viral on TikTok. Well, I did that on Twitter and I literally thought I was so fucking funny. I watched it like 100 times and then like it got 0 responses and like 2 likes. Okay, I'm gonna do it here just because I feel like it's like fucking worth it. I like thought it was hilarious. Anyways, if you want my future, forget my past. If you want to get with me, better make it fast. Okay, there we go. I gotta quit while I'm ahead. Oh God. Okay. Okay, and then let's get into like some pop culture updates. I feel like this is going to be an extended intro just because so much has happened since I recorded this episode with Arthur. So let's do a quick run through of some pop culture news items, and then we'll get to the show proper with Arthur from Two Cents Critic. So first off, okay, actually, sorry, I got so confused. I got so caught up in my impression. Kim, kisses. Thank you so much for being an official RTBP. Sorry that this shout out was unhinged. I hope you appreciate, but I super appreciate you being an official Petty Betty and supporting the show. Okay, let's get into it. Some news topics for today. God, this is unhinged. This should be behind the paywall. Okay, Sephora drops Addison Rae and Hiram's beauty line. So Hiram came out with a line in, I think, 2021 called Selfless, and Addison has Item Beauty, and Sephora has dropped both those lines. And I thought that was really interesting because I feel like Addison and Hiram, you know, they were just so big in 2020 and 2021. Like, they were just everywhere. And I feel like we haven't really seen them do much. Like, Addison still kind of hangs out with Courtney, but she, like, her music has been on pause. She's, like, recorded some songs, but none of them have been released. And then Hiram was like everywhere, which was kind of interesting because he was like kind of like me. This is giving myself so much credit, where it's like he was just really into skincare. Like, he wasn't a like trained esthetician or dermatologist or anything like that, and then just like was making YouTube videos. And it's like me giving my advice to my like mom and sisters and like friends, like I have any sort of training, and people were obsessed with him, and then he just like kind of fell off. It's just interesting. Like, I wonder is it because so many like derms are popular on TikTok and people would just prefer like the advice from an expert? Is it because they're kind of like relics of the pandemic and like people don't want to like remember that time, or they're just kind of over that, or maybe they're just flash in the pan celebrities, or maybe it's because the celebrity skincare world is just way too big and you just can't compete with all these other lines. I'm not sure what it is, but I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts about why Sephora dropped their line, because, well, it's just huge to get into a store like Sephora. So that was like a huge deal. And I guess you just have to, you know, be able to sell to continue. But yeah, huge loss for both of those people. And then John and Chrissy had their baby, which we predicted some baby names for them back in the fall. So they haven't announced the baby name yet, but when it is, we'll see if Sophie Keem and I were right. Well, she guessed, but I co-signed her guesses. We'll see if we were right. Judas Lynn Spears, aka Jamie Lynn Spears, announced that Zoe 102, a fucking Zoe 101 reboot movie, is coming to Hulu, I think. I clearly like just did not do any research. And I'm like so fucking conflicted because like I loved that show. I was like, I don't know. I was such a like Hannah Montana, High School Musical, Zoe 101 girly. Like I loved, it was such a fun aesthetic, and like I wanted to go to PCA so badly, and like, you know, have a locker that was like outside and like stuff like that, like eat at a cafeteria, things that my school just like didn't have. And I just, yeah, love the aesthetic of just like bright colors, fun fashion, really like expressive and colorful and joyful and stuff like that. And it's just so good. And I loved the story between Chase and Zoe. Like, I thought it was so interesting that, I don't know, that the guy was pining over the girl. Maybe that's not like super new, but I felt like back in the day, it was like just really cool to see the guy obsessed with the girl instead of the girl like falling over her feet for the guy. You know, the show left on a cliffhanger. Like, Chase finally expresses his love for Zoe, and then her phone vibrates, or like her God, I'm blanking on the name, but like her flip phone type, her switch, not her switch. You know what I'm talking about. But I wanted one so bad when I was in school. But her cell phone just like vibrated into the fountain. Which, remember when we would all have our phones on vibrate and they like literally, when they were on a table, like vibrate off? Like that was absurd. But I'm so conflicted because I can't support the show, obvi, after we know what Jamie Lynn has contributed to Britney Spears' conservatorship, and even like how she bullied the other girls on set. So I'm so conflicted. And then also they did that like YouTube short. It was like, I think it was like 10-year, it was like a time capsule like that they opened up or whatever, and it was just on YouTube. It was just, I don't know, The Boys or whatever. It seemed like a fan-made project almost. And it was when Chase was like going to propose to his girlfriend, like longtime girlfriend, and then someone tells him that like Zoe's, I don't know, back in town or something like that, and he like completely forgets the long-term girlfriend. And it's just, I don't know, it's funny. So I don't know, tell me, are you gonna watch it or are you gonna not? We were talking over on our Patreon Discord that we could watch it, but just watch it on someone's computer, and they could stream it to us. So we are only giving them one streaming number versus like dozen or whatever. So I don't know, let me know what you think. Victoria Justice is not coming back. A few of them aren't coming back, which I think is really smart, because it's like, yeah, Victoria Justice isn't really having like a moment right now, but I feel like in the long term, this would be worse for her career just because of how controversial it is. So yeah, super interesting. We got new stills from And Just Like That season 2, and surprise, surprise, Aiden is back. He was seen holding hands with Carrie walking down the streets of New York. I got really hyped for a minute, and then I was like, this is probably like a dream sequence, or like, I don't know, like a what if like daydream or something. Or it's like, well, I guess the show doesn't really do that, so maybe not. But I was like, could this really be them dating again? Or is it just like he was there to film something and they took pictures holding hands? Or is it just like, I don't know, a nightmare she has and then like wakes up from? But that wouldn't make sense either. I don't know. But I'll just like, we'll just wait to see. Like, I'll see it when I believe it. When it comes out, I will do a whole rundown. But right now, I am confused at best. And then another thing I wanted to talk about was Amelia, the chicken shop girl, and Andrew Garfield. I was kind of sleeping on Andrew Garfield, and then I feel like me and my friend Jeff in like 2021 and 2022 had like a big like big Andrew Garfield era where we would just literally, we wouldn't talk. We would just send each other back and forth messages of fan edits of Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. So that was that was an interesting time in our lives. And then I literally, like, I made my dad watch Spider-Man with me. And I feel like I didn't say anything, but like, I was just like, oh, let's watch Spider-Man. And he's like, oh, cool. Like, we can watch like a Marvel flick or whatever. Like, I don't know. Is it Marvel? Whatever. Like, we can watch like an action thing. Otherwise, I'm usually like making him watch the Kardashians and stuff or Below Deck. And he's like, okay, yeah, like something I'd be interested in. But like, really, I just wanted to watch it for Andrew Garfield. Ugh, poor guy. But anyways, he is so cute and so charismatic and so like fun and flirty, but also like normal. Like, I feel like I'm really into celeb crushes nowadays that like have like kind of an air of normalcy, even though I know it's like all a facade. But anyways, so Amelia, she hosts a YouTube show called Chicken Shop Date, where she takes celebs to a chicken shop and they go on a date and she like interviews them. And it's really, really popular. She's definitely like one of the YouTube it girls. And she's been doing some red carpet hosting gigs. And twice now she's met Andrew Garfield and they've had an extremely flirty exchange. The first one I feel like was flirty, but like it was almost that type of flirting where it was like, this could be passed off as just like being friendly or fun. The second time, this was at the Golden Globes, he was like touching her wrist and like really flirting, like super, super flirting, which I was also like, okay, Andrew Garfield like flirts like a normal person, which again just contributes to the excessive crushing that I've been doing lately. But I'm just so obsessed with them. So now instead of Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield fan edits, I'm watching Amelia and Andrew, which don't those names sound so good together? Fan edits and, you know, like psychologists analyzing their behavior and shit like that on TikTok. So if you haven't seen that and you want to like have the cheesiest grin on your face for like 3 minutes and then like watch it and then fall into a deep, deep, deep depression, definitely recommend checking that out. Shakira is divorcing her husband, and it was like, this is so fucking petty and just so iconic. Like, if only I could ask her about this in an interview or something. But she caught her husband cheating, and we found out that that's because she was looking at the levels, I guess, of strawberry jam that was eaten in the fridge, which is just, I don't know. If you've ever been that like psychotic roommate or whatever, like if you know, you know. But it's so iconic. She released a new song and she opens a fridge and there's strawberry jam there and a dead man's head, which is so funny. She also placed a witch statue kind of pointing and looking at her mother-in-law. I was going to say suegra, which I think is mother-in-law in Spanish, but don't quote me on that. Her suegra's house, which is so like just so iconic. Chef's kiss perfection. Pettyweight Champion of the year. I can't wait to see how all of this plays out. Okay, last story before we get to today's show. Selena Gomez has a new rumored boyfriend. We have been talking all about the Brooklyn Beckham Nicole Peltz throuple, which it's like, Selena, stop hanging out with them. They bring your coolness level down like 1,000. Like, they're such tryhard wannabes. And then I was like, okay, she's back in it because she looked stunning at the Golden Globes. She wasn't with them for like 2 minutes. And then she was with them at the after party, which was annoying. And then people were saying, oh, it's because she's dating Nicola's brother because he was there. And she had this really cute shot of her playing pool and all these guys surrounding her, and she's in a ball gown and they're just in normal clothes. And I was like, this is iconic. And then she was back on the set of Only Murders in the Building, whatever that show is. And they got fucking Paul Rudd and Meryl Streep for season 3. So I was like, okay, now I feel like I have to watch this. And then she was rumored like 2 days later, or like 2 hours later, she was rumored to be dating one of the Chainsmokers. And I think his name is Drew, but I didn't write it down, and I'm honestly not looking it up because it doesn't matter which one it is. It's like they are literally just, you know, two of the same person. And I was like, okay, again, that's like kind of bringing her down a level because like she's fucking way cooler than the Chainsmokers. Like, what is this, 2016? And then they were seen at a bowling alley on a date, which is so Randy Jackson. But then I was like, it's weird that like the kind of like Dumois blind item-esque rumors like on Pop Base or Pop Crave or whatever came out. And then 2 days later, we have photographic evidence. Like, to me, that kind of screams PR because it's like, oh, we planted the seed. Oh, we have proof now. And it's like the grainiest picture, but you can still like clearly tell it's them. So I guess they could be real and this just leaked, or I don't know, it's another PR relationship. But then I'm like, PR for who? Like, definitely Drew or whatever his name is, like, because to me this is kind of not cool for Selena. Anyways, wish her all the best. It's probably hard dating as a celebrity, so I get it, girl. Okay, that's all from me. Let's get to today's show. Without further ado, here is my conversation with Arthur. I'm back with a very special guest. Arthur from 2 Cents Critic is here. Arthur, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm eager to be here. You know, this is the first time I'm gonna be on your show, and although you've been on my show a few times, so it's exciting to finally do the podcast transfer and finally be here and ready to be petty.
I know, it's so funny. So I've been on Two Cents Critic 3 times. We've covered Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And then A Merry Little Meet Cute, which is a contemporary romance novel in I would say the subgenre is like holiday. And then we also covered The Spanish Love Deception in the spring of 2022, which was really, really fun.
Yes, yes. A whole bunch of discussions that they've had, deep diving into stuff, especially for Everything Everywhere All at Once. We talked about that the podcast went on for almost 3 hours.
I think that was my longest podcast ever, 3 hours. Even though some of my guests with Nick and Sophie and Zev, I can talk like two and a half maybe, but I think that was my longest podcast. There was just so much to cover in that film.
Well, yeah, I mean, so much detail, so many layers, and I'm excited that it's getting some recognition, the recognition that it deserves as a masterful film.
Yes, which is what we're going to talk about today a little bit. So we are going to talk about the kickoff to awards season. We've had the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice Awards, and then we just have some like kind of cute and fun stories that I just want to be petty about. One, I feel like, which is the Kesha / Charli XCX social media snafu. I think that kind of leads to a larger conversation about, celebs and social media. But otherwise, like Kendall being a privileged celeb and Lea Michele being like a little annoying is pretty like status quo around here.
Yeah.
And then we're going to wrap up the episode with a Pettyweight Champion of the Week. And Arthur's going to share his This Week in Petty story. So let's dive in. I am so glad that you wanted to talk about this because I feel like this is a running theme on this podcast that I will never watch an award show, but I very regularly have people come on here and tell me about them. And like, obviously I look at like the highlights and stuff because there's no way that you can not. But how did you enjoy the Golden Globes? Like, what were your fave moments?
Wow. I'm gonna be honest here. I actually did not see the entire show because I don't
God, no. That's totally fine.
I don't even have the Peacock subscription. I don't even have the cables, so I just had to track down as many of the clips as possible, and like as many of the moments I could find on Twitter and YouTube, and just be like, okay, cut all of the moments.
That's so funny.
It's not out of choice. If I had a choice, yes, I would make time to watch it, even though it's not honestly all that important for us, but we still consume it. Yeah, so the Golden Globes. I mean, obviously, Michelle Yeoh, not only just winning at Golden Globes, but when the musicians were trying to play her off, and she was just like, "Shut up, please."
That is like literally so iconic because I feel like I understand they have to keep to a timeline and stuff because like often these shows go past the 2-3 hour time slots anyways. So like I understand that they have so much to fit in, but like especially for these like larger awards, like they get like 30 seconds, and I feel like this is the biggest. Yeah, this is like the biggest moment of like your career. Like I don't know and like I feel like I would need 30 seconds just to like compose myself.
Oh yeah, I mean, just the energy that you're feeling and the nervousness when you're going up on stage. I mean, yeah, you need to have some time to process that, and you got to talk, in front of the whole crowd. But I mean, and again, props to Michelle Yeoh again because not only did she say "shut up, please," she went on to say, "I can beat you up, okay?" And that's serious. Which, I mean, she could if she really wanted to.
She's totally, I feel like, the belle of the ball this year. Like, I loved what she wore to the Golden Globes, and then also the Critics' Choice Awards, which we're going to talk about next. Like, she definitely, I feel like, is having her moment. She had that, like, kind of viral-ish meme where Jamie Lee Curtis is sitting slightly behind her, and when she wins the award she's like freaking out, and I was like, oh, that's so nice because obviously they were co-stars in Everything Everywhere All at Once. And yeah, I just feel like she is like this is her year.
without a doubt. And it's like she has been in Hollywood for such a long time. Oddly enough, I think I remember the first time I can ever remember seeing her in a movie was the third Mummy movie.
Yeah.
That was just a funny like my first Michelle Yeoh movie. It's just funny to select that one. But yeah, that's the first one I remember her distinctly being in, and now it's like she has gone on to be in Everything Everywhere All at Once, and there has been a bit of kind of like a controversial debate where it's like, oh, if she wins this award, like if she wins the Oscar specifically, it'll just be a legacy award. It won't be for a performance and Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I'm like, personally, I'm like, that feels like crap. I mean, she gave a great performance in
Yeah.
Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's like you're discrediting the layers she was able to add to Evelyn in that movie.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, that's so rude. Like, that's so rude. What were your other favorite moments?
Okay, well, yeah, other favorite moments. I mean, just aside from Michelle Yeoh, like when Jennifer Coolidge was also able to win. And I mean,
Yeah.
I would say I haven't watched The White Lotus yet, but
Yeah.
it's been on my watch list. But just in general, like, it's also great to see her get the praise in award season for both Golden Globes and Critics' Choice Awards. And it's just,
Yeah.
again, another actor who's also been in Hollywood for a long time. And it does feel
Yeah.
like as of late, she has particularly undergone a renaissance of sorts for her career.
100%. Yeah, that's a good point. Another like belle of the ball for sure. Her speech to Mike White in particular was like so moving. And then Mike White's speech was also so moving. If you guys haven't watched that, like I highly recommend just like YouTubing it.
Definitely.
I'm not like an award speech girly. Like I don't usually get like super moved by them or like seek to watch them or anything, but like those ones are like actually worth checking out because you're so right. Like these like older women, I just feel like sometimes just get like phased out of Hollywood. So to have these two women like really get their due is so special. And like I also haven't watched White Lotus, which honestly, we're probably getting canceled right now for not watching it. But like, I'm just too scared. I'm like such a scaredy cat. I can't watch like anything scary. So
Wait,
I don't
scary?
know.
What do you? It's not scary.
There's murder.
Okay,
Like-
I guess. I thought you meant like scary. Like, wait, does she think it's horror? Because it's not horror.
I know it's not horror, but like sometimes horror is almost easier to consume because it's sometimes really over the top. Whereas like shows like this or like I really struggled with like Breaking Bad or like stuff like
Oh.
that was just like it just has that element of like I don't know creep or like I don't know
Like
just
anxiety, maybe like an
yes
atmosphere of
yes
stress.
yes exactly like you just like know something's gonna happen or you're like always like looking for like clues or whatever, which I think is really fun, but I don't know, it's just not my jam currently.
I get that.
I think one of my favorite moments is like Austin Butler's award season, just because like we've talked like ad nauseum on this podcast about his ridiculous Elvis accent and how
I
he's
know. It's just
from Southern California.
he keeps it around, and I've heard
Yeah.
his voice back from a few years ago, and it's just I've heard his regular voice, and then suddenly it morphs over into his Elvis accent that he has now retained,
Yeah.
and it's just so odd.
It's so weird. And I was thinking because he's, I think, about to start or join the Dune set
Yes,
or
Dune.
has been,
Yeah, Dune Part
filming
2.
Dune. Yeah, part 2. And I was like, okay, like, are you gonna just like lose that accent? Do you pick up that new accent for the rest of your life? Like, what's the issue? But I'm actually really surprised that he won at Golden Globes because
I was
I don't know,
kind
I
of
heard like
surprised. I mean,
yeah,
look,
I heard mixed reviews.
I haven't seen Elvis yet, so unfortunately, it's like that's one of my 2022, gaps where it's like, oh, I still have a watch list of movies from that year. That,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of them, but others I haven't. Elvis is one of
Yeah.
them, and I have heard a lot of people criticize the editing of the movie, that it is
Interesting.
apparently really like frenetic, almost like dizzying, the way that the
Mm.
editing is handled. Again,
Right.
Again, I haven't seen it. The movie, I've just seen some memes. Like some of a few shots of the movie, and like and Austin Butler and Tom Hanks, and apparently people make fun of Tom Hanks's accent in the movie.
Oh God, I can't. And it was really sad because Lisa Marie Presley joined him on the red carpet and was talking about how moved she was by his performance and stuff. And then like 3 days later, she passed away.
That was shocking.
Yeah, really young.
Damn.
Yeah. So yeah, I wonder how she'll be honored throughout the, rest of the award season.
Yeah, definitely.
What about the Critics' Choice Awards? How did you enjoy those?
Critics' Choice Award, also some good moments, like with, for example, Everything Everywhere All at Once, winning, for Best Picture, and also it didn't win at the Golden Globes though. I should note that because that's for the Golden Globes for comedy and musical went to the Banshees of Inisherin. Which I would say, I think The Banshees of Inisherin is actually a very good movie. I think personally, I am but Everything Everywhere All at Once, I feel like that, I feel like that should have gotten the award over Banshees, but I'm glad it won at the Critics' Choice Award, and that, and then also, Brendan Fraser also winning at the Critics' Choice Award. That was also really good, and I still want to see The Whale. I've heard some mixed reviews for The Whale, but still, Brendan Fraser, just his career, being revitalized, and I just, this is someone I've watched for, as many other people also, I've seen him for such a long time, especially The Mummy, and even Journey to the Center of the Earth, and Furry Vengeance, which he did, bring up, and it's just great to see him be in the spotlight now.
Yeah.
And he got so teary and emotional during the speech. It was great to see that.
Totally. Yeah, again, another interesting career to follow because, he was so popular in, his early 20s and 30s. And I think what I remember him from is Tarzan because it was just, stuck in my head for the last 25 years.
Do you mean George of the Jungle?
Yes. Oh my God. I mean, George of the Jungle. Okay. Yes.
I saw that for the first time last year, actually.
Yeah. George of the Jungle. It's one of those 90s rom-coms that it's just it's kind of like Kate and Leopold with Meg Ryan. I don't know. It's just one of those dummy but extremely loyal men somehow make it to New York City, and she's teaching him about traffic and stuff like that.
I know, and Leslie Mann was in that all the way. And she actually had a crush on him too when they were shooting on set.
Yes, Leslie Mann. Oh my God, yes. And she's so beautiful and cute, and he's dreamy and always in a loincloth. It's just a good watch.
I know, it was entertaining.
Very entertaining, but he came out and said that he was groped by a member of one of the award ceremony.
Golden Globes.
The Golden Globes, yeah.
Hollywood Foreign Press Association, all that crap.
Yeah,
and he got blacklisted from Hollywood for
a
few years.
Many years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Many years.
So it's really interesting, and it's just sad because there's so many barriers for men to come forward about any type of sexual assault or, incidents like this. So yeah, really, really sad. So I'm just glad that maybe this is, kind of a healing process for him to, be recognized in these spaces again.
Recover, and it's just, and even that, and there's an interview I remember where there's an interviewer who told him hey, people love you. Haven't you seen all the love that you've gotten on the internet? And this was the first time that he was learning about this in the interview, and he actually was breaking down a bit, and that was just really, really emotional to watch that. So, I'm glad he's getting the praise now, and we'll see what happens at the Oscars as well. And then also, I'm really glad also that Natu, the song that is just the iconic song from RRR, which has been, just blowing up around the world, and, word of mouth has helped, to promote it. Natu won for Best Original Song at both the Golden Globes and Critics' Choice Awards, which is great to see.
Amazing.
Oh.
I think one of my fave moments, and this is so superficial, Chelsea Handler looked so good.
Oh yeah, I remember. I was like, okay, yeah, I like this. I like the fashion. I like the look here. For the
Yeah, like not to like totally divert us, but like I'm not usually into like her fashion or makeup or hair,
really
and I thought she looked really beautiful.
interesting. Okay, that's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what her usual fashion look is like. But I'm just like
Yeah.
specifically for the Critics' Choice Award. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, this looks good.
She looks good.
And also, speaking of fashion, I will also give a shout out to Jenna Ortega as well for the Golden Globes, who I also thought she had a great, like, fashion look as well.
Yeah, she looked beautiful.
Yeah.
Any other fave moments or big surprises before we chat about the Academy Awards?
I will give a shout out to Amanda Seyfried, who I was really glad that she ended up winning for her performance in Dropout at the Critics' Choice Award. And the Dropout
Yes.
itself also won for, like, I think it was like Best Limited Series or movie made for TV. And and that was great to watch. And Amanda Seyfried also, like, another actor who's also been in the field for a long time, and she's
Yeah.
also getting more praise. And there's also really great, like, the interview at the Critics' Choice Award where she was talking to this interviewer, and then apparently James Cameron was also, like, really close by, and she was just getting really awestruck. It was like awestruck,
Awestruck.
and even the reporter was like, "Yeah, James Cameron is here. Just cool it."
I love when stars get starstruck by other stars because, it just seems like most of the time they're like cool, calm, and collected. Like us normies would be like the ones that are like hot mess expresses. And it's just so fun seeing them freak out a little bit.
Well, yeah, it reminds us that they're human. Just not.
Yeah.
They may be celebrities, they may have lots of money and lots of
Yeah.
fame, but at the same time, we still have human reactions.
Totally, totally. Do you have any predictions or ideas for the upcoming Academy Awards since those are kind of the biggies?
Well, for the Oscars, my predictions, which are biased, admittedly, are that everything Everyone Wants will win for Best Picture. Well, I really want Ke Huy Quan and Michelle Williams. I want them to get the awards. I want Stephanie Sue. I really want Stephanie Sue to get a nomination at the very least because
Mm,
she's been getting snubbed. I feel like, and there's been this whole debate where it seems like Jamie Lee Curtis has been getting nominated over her, and here's the
mm,
thing, I love both their performances and everything I've all at once. I wish I
mm-hmm.
wanted to be kind of thing where they're both nominated, but I'm worried that the Oscars will look at Stephanie Sue and be like, oh, you're young, you've got many more
Yeah,
chances, let's just
yeah,
pass over you. And it's like, no, but you should really give her the praise now for this performance. What if she doesn't get another performance that matches up to
yeah.
this level? So just give her the praise now. So, I don't know. I hope she gets nominated at the very least. And then I'm kind of so Andrea Riceborough. We were talking a bit about this whole podcast. I kind of wonder if maybe something will happen with that. Okay, because there's a movie.
Yeah,
There's this really an indie movie called To Leslie, starring Andrea
yeah.
Riceborough, and it is just like blown up out of nowhere. Like I had never heard of it before a few days ago, and then suddenly I'm seeing it. I'm seeing stuff about it on Twitter, and then my phone Discord server is talking about it. And apparently, there are a whole bunch of actresses like Courtney Cox, Charlize Theron, Gwyneth Paltrow, Susan Sarandon, Frances Fisher, Sarah Paulson, Edward Norton, Mia Farrow, Melanie Linsky, Bradley Whitford, who are all running this campaign to be like, hey, Riceborough should get a nomination. Here's the for your consideration tweets and Instagram posts, and
Yeah,
it's just like, are they getting paid off here? It's just some
yeah,
kind of like
probably.
a quid pro quo going on because it's like this blew up out of nowhere, and it's like that's like,
Yeah,
and I'm someone I'm a cinephile now. I keep up to
yes.
date on the news, on the movie news. So it's like if there's a movie that I've never heard before and it's suddenly getting blown up out of nowhere, that says a lot. It's like, okay, even I've never heard of this. I've never, ever, ever.
Yeah, 100%. And like knowing a little bit more about I feel like over the last couple of years, there's been more information about how these award processes work. Like, I wouldn't doubt it if they were like all getting paid off. I'm thinking of like Emily in Paris, how they brought some of the members of that like vote to Paris and stayed at like the most expensive hotel, like did set tours, did like touristy things with like exclusive access and stuff. And like, so it makes sense that people would also just be like, hey, here's like $5,000 if you could just tweet about this nomination.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense. I mean, I don't know. So honestly, I could see maybe that happening. Maybe if the campaign is powerful enough, maybe she could get a nomination to the Oscars. Which I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't even seen the movie, so I can't come from a position of, oh, I can judge whether or not her performance is Oscar worthy.
Yeah.
But still, it's very suspicious. But
yeah, I love this conspiracy theory.
but everything all at once, that's what I care about the most. I want that to get the praise it deserves. I also want maybe not to could also win Best Original Song at the Oscars, And I also feel like Top Gun Maverick would also get a few, like, probably, like, nominations, definitely. Maybe an award for, like, Best Cinematography or, like, best something for Top Gun Maverick. But, it was actually really good. Far better than a Legacy sequel. Should be.
Totally. Well, I'm excited. I'll definitely be covering it a little bit on the pod with Champ. This will be, I think, his 4th or 5th time covering the Academy Awards. So Get ready. That will be, I guess, in April. And then let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about Charli XCX's Twitter. So basically what happened was Charli and Kesha have the same management company, like that run their social media. And Charli was recently nominated for a Brit Award. And, she would tweet to react to her nomination. So the tweet says, I got nominated for a Brit Award. Thanks to everyone who makes those decisions. I literally have no idea who you are, period. But someone who has the notification bell on or whatever for both Kesha and Charli got notifications within 2 minutes with the same tweet. So basically what happened was Charli's social media management company tweeted on when they were logged into Kesha's account and then quickly deleted it and then logged into Charli's and tweeted the same thing. What do you think of all this?
That's such an odd situation. I'm struggling to figure out whether it's accidental or on purpose. Like maybe if it's on purpose, is it like a prank? Is someone in the management team like thinking, oh, let's just mess around for a bit. Maybe let's do this for like a PR stunt.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, Arthur, because like after the news about Kim Kardashian planning the flower bombing that happened at one of her perfume launches like 10 years ago, I actually think that sometimes, and this sounds so naive, it's like everyone listening is gonna be like, duh, but like obviously people like these PR companies plan these bad things happening because it's going to get buzz. Like, no offense, but like I haven't thought about Kesha in a really long time, which is a shame because she deserves the world. And then Charli XCX, like also not really on my radar currently, but now obviously I'm thinking about them and talking about them. So
if it is purposeful, it's doing a job, but
yeah, 100%. But I'm also kind of like, it's doing its job, but then I'm kind of like, it's actually sad that you don't have like a better social media management team because this is kind of embarrassing too.
I mean, yeah, but I was like, but then what if we shift to the other side of the spectrum and be like, okay, what if it's accidental? In that case, is it just pure incompetence? Did maybe like, I don't know, did Charli write a tweet herself and send it off to someone else, and that person ended up tweeting from both accounts by mistake? Or maybe it was sent off to 2 people or multiple people, and they were sending it off without knowing the other person was, sending it off to the internet. I don't know, like, it was someone, was the person or people who sent the tweets, were they overcoming a hangover? Was they high?
Literally,
that's on
they're
the
just like
accidental.
rushing.
Yeah, it's the accidental
Yeah.
side.
Yeah, they're like running to catch like the subway or something, and they're like, "Oh shit, I forgot to tweet that Charlie got nominated for a Brit Award," and they just like shot it off. Like, I don't know. I think like the interesting part for me is like, did Charlie write this and give it to her team to post, and they posted on the wrong account? Or did they just straight up write this? Because
Exactly.
I thought it was really
Like what I was thinking, yeah.
yeah, because like it's really interesting, like the tone of voice. You know, she says like, I don't know who comes up with these things, like very, you know, quirky celeb, like I don't care about this stuff, like whatever. And then no capitalization, another like thing I think implying like personalization. And then she uses obviously I, so it's in first person, so it's Charlie tweeting. So like it's just really interesting that it's like they are making it seem like it's her. So I don't know, did she just like say like this is what I want to say, or again, is it just like a Gen Z intern, like, you know, posting this and then like made a boo-boo and posted it to Kesha's account? Like, I don't know.
You know, I keep going back to the thing where it's like, as someone who is, you know, who tries not to be all that naive when looking at celebrities, culture, and all that. I'm just like, well, if she maybe she didn't write the tweet herself, maybe it was like it was someone like the management team writing in her place to make it sound like it's coming from her. And I don't know, it's like I keep going back and forth. Again, purposeful or accidental, that's the whole thing. And again, the PR, you know, you may think like, oh, it would be weird for this to happen just for a whole PR stunt. But then it's like, well, there was a thing. We live in a world now where there's a romance author who had apparently we thought she had committed suicide, but now it's like, oh, she faked actually the whole thing to promote her own books, and she's actually still alive. Did you hear about this, by the way?
No, but like people will just truly not stop at anything. Hey,
it happened. It happened recently.
Yeah,
Season recent. That is the awesome talking
that's
about.
disgusting.
It happened recently.
Oh my god, that's so bad. Yeah, you're right. So it's like when people are doing shit like that, who cares about a fucking tweet that someone sent out, like, or flower in Kim Kardashian's hair? Like, yeah, that's so true. Okay, shifting gears. I keep saying that. I feel like that's my new like transition phrase. I don't know if I like it or not, but okay, let's move on to
we can stop out.
Lea Michele on Jimmy Fallon. So I'm also not like a big late night show girly, but you know, I sometimes like to dabble in some of these viral moments, but I thought it was really interesting because Lea Michele was on Jimmy Fallon's show, and with all of the guests that were on that night, they were playing a game of charades. So it was Sadie Sink, and actually I should get the name of the other person that was there. Sadie Sink, Lea Michele.
Tariq Schroeder from The Roots.
Thank you.
So he's a musician from The Roots. That's like the backup band that Jimmy Fallon has on his show. I think he's done stuff like this before. Like he's been on the segments, you know, participated on Jimmy Fallon in the past.
These three people, Tariq, Lea, and Sadie, and then the host Jimmy, are about to play charades. So Sadie and Tariq are already on stage. Lea Michele comes on. So like you would naturally think like, okay, like you just stand, you know, at the end of the line, because I don't know, that's what normal person does. But she gives the like quickest kiss on the cheek to Sadie, and then Tariq, and then shimmies her way into the middle of the group. And I was like, that is just so classic Lea Michele. Like she can't just like fucking stand on the end of the stage. Like she had to just like be in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, it fits with the whole personality that I've been seeing her give off. Just doing crap, you know, maybe trying to get a bit of attention, like doing extra stuff. It's odd. It's notable.
Totally. And it's interesting also because like Sadie Sink is in the middle of award season with The Whale.
Yes.
And Lea Michele has been on Broadway now with Funny Girl for like 6 months. So I'm like, I feel like you're kind of like the B-list guest here and Sadie Sink is the A-list. So I just thought that was like rude that she like just like completely cut her off.
Yeah, I mean, but again, it's kind of like, are you gonna expect anything else? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, even like, again, I'm going back to my film Discord server. Like, there are quite a few people who was like, what the hell's going on with her? Like, and kind of like, and even like the whole thing was like, wait, can she read? It's like, she's not denying it, really, is she? Like, but that was such an odd thing. Again, so odd.
Yeah. So yeah, the rumors that she can't read is just like, I feel like one of the most like viral pop culture moments of 2022, and she's like starting to play into it. So she picks up the card and she's like, oh no, like, what, like, kind of like pretending not to read it and stuff like that, and like buying into the bit.
At the whole meme.
Exactly. She knew what she was doing. It's also interesting that she was on this week because the documentary The Price of Glee came out this week on, I think it's Investigation Discovery Plus. Are you gonna watch that docuseries?
I've never seen Glee, so I don't have any interest in it.
Oh my god! So please don't. It is like, do not go down that rabbit hole.
I just heard people kind of like, I have heard people give like negative reviews of it, at least from the circle I've been in, for the Price of Glee. I mean, but and even the whole show about Glee is like, I've heard people even, again, my film Discord server, I've mentioned my film Discord server many times by now, but a few people have been like, oh, like Glee was great, back then, but now it's aged really poorly, and it's just like it tries to be so hip and smart, but now it's embarrassing to watch it now.
100%. Yeah, I think a lot of the docuseries discusses, the passing of Naya Rivera, Corey Monteith, and Mark Salling,
It's
but
really tragic. God.
Yeah, super tragic, at least the two of them. But because it was just released this week, there have been some moments from the documentary specifically talking about Lea Michele's behavior on set. So It's just interesting that she's on here and like probably trying to create some of these viral moments, like her pretending not to read, etc., to,
distract.
Yeah, distract, and when you search her for that to be like the first thing that comes up. But we're on to you, Lea.
We know what's going on. And also, even like when she was like, when they were doing the whole Max Singer thing, and I did catch the moments when she kind of like stuttered on DM, and I was like, wait, was she like hesitant for a moment? I almost felt like she was hesitant, or maybe she was getting kind of nervous. Like maybe she was like kind of like her brain glitching out for moments. Like, I feel like, that could happen. Like, anxious.
My like theory is that she thinks she's above the singing competition shows like The Masked Singer, and it was so clearly for anyone who hasn't watched this clip, I will put it in the episode show notes, but if you don't watch the segment, it's about 5 minutes long, so like, choose if you'd like to, but if you don't want to dedicate 5 minutes to Lea Michele doing charades, that's totally fair. Yeah. But she gets the clue, or Tariq is acting out the clue, The Masked Singer, and she like, it's so obvious of what it is, and she kind of stutters for a little bit, and I think she was just like, oh, I can't like let people know that I know what The Masked Singer is. And I was like, you definitely like probably were offered it a few years ago, like in your flop era. And
I can say
also
that.
Your co-star Amber Riley just won, so it's like, yeah, I just think she thinks she's like above knowing things like that because it's not, part of the aesthetic.
Yeah, I can see that.
My other like favorite moment from this clip, and then we can move on, but it was just so funny when I think it was Jimmy was giving the clues to Sadie, and it was the circle of life.
Oh, yep.
And like, okay, so obviously he like draws a circle, and then life, he does like holding a baby and then lifting it up, and Sadie gets it, and then he's like, oh my god, how did you get that? And I was like, that's literally probably the easiest, like no one would not get that. Like,
I don't know. I feel like maybe because I'm bad at charades, but I was standing there for a moment, being like, I wonder if I would have been so at that because again,
no, you would have got it. He literally was like second word and then drew a circle.
no.
Yeah, you would have got it. But I was just like, it was just so funny. He was like, how could you have ever gotten that? And it was like, because Jimmy, it was like you literally described the two main words like extremely obvious, like whatever.
I feel like maybe he can be over the top like that. You know what I mean? It was,
Totally, that's his MO.
and he got some very competitive spirit as well, as we were able to see in the segment, like especially towards the end. Competitive fire.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I can't imagine like the amount of energy he has to put in those shows. Like as a person who like, if I do one thing, I have to like take it like extroverted. I have to take a nap. So I just cannot imagine him doing those every freaking night.
Oh my God, the games. There's so many games.
So many games. He has to use so much energy. He's like, oh my God, just like the full body experience is just like, it's tiring.
And I was just looking at the other hosts, like, the other hosts don't do the games nearly as much, like, or at all even, like Stephen Colbert or Seth Meyers or John Oliver.
Yeah. But like, I get it because it makes these viral clips that are perfect for YouTube.
Yeah,
so
YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, social media, the whole internet for us all to talk about and make fun of, and and
totally.
About like we're doing right now, you and me.
Exactly. Yeah, they got us hook, line, and sinker. So moving on to a little bit of Kardashian, or I should say, like Kardashian Jenner news. I was creeping on Reddit on the Kardashian snark page.
Reddit, you can find so much stuff on Reddit, can you?
Yeah, it's like, if you have never used Reddit before, honestly don't, because you're opening just like, again, a rabbit hole of information. But if you're on there, I was on r/KUTWK snark, which is fun. And basically, it was a picture of Kendall, and I will say she was in flared yoga pants and a hoodie, so it's not like she was like full glam going to like an interview or something like that. Yeah. And she has her bodyguard holding her like full umbrella, and I feel like it was very much like what I pictured being a celebrity was when I was a kid. What did you think of the bodyguard holding the umbrella for her?
I think it is honestly, look, is it privileged celebrity behavior, especially for a Kardashian? Yes. Is it honestly that different from a lot of other celebrity behaviors that I've seen? I don't really think so, especially it's her bodyguard who's doing it, who he is probably getting paid a lot of money. Let's keep that in mind. And
true.
And it's just like, yes, it is pretty entitled, but and as you were saying, it's not like she's all glammed up, because if you're glammed up, yeah, like you want to protect like clothes and the makeup, sure, I'm fine, I can understand that, but then it's like, oh, the flared yoga pants and hoodie, again, more casual, you don't need protection as much, but then if you're going back to what again, it's kind of, I don't know, it just feels kind of typical, I feel like compared to other behaviors I've seen, I don't think it's as entitled as it could have been. Don't get me wrong, it's entitled, but not as entitled as it could have been.
Yeah, and like that's a good point. Like it's also like, but even if you were in glam, wouldn't you just still hold your own umbrella? I feel like also, just a side note, petty about like when other people hold umbrellas for you and then you're doing like the awkward like slow like when like you're trying to like match their like rhythm and stuff. Like obviously it's like a beautiful gesture, but like I don't know, that's interesting. But yeah, I wonder, so like the good part of me says in my head like, oh, her bodyguard was probably being polite, he probably insisted, like she probably was like no, like I couldn't, and then he was like no, like don't worry, I got you. And then the bad part of me is like she was like waiting in the car for him to open the door, and then he pops the umbrella open and then thinks she's gonna grab it, and then she doesn't, so he just has to continue holding on to it.
Yeah, I mean it could be. Yeah, I mean between those two things, I'm probably leaning towards the latter option. And again, like, again, he's getting paid, but that also doesn't mean it dismisses any of the crap that he's putting up with, as an employee who is having to deal with her stuff. But still, I think we've seen more entitled behavior. I mean, for example, honestly, the accessibility stalls for the Pilates, like when she and Hailey Bieber were doing that, I feel like now that is more entitled.
Yeah, that's so gross. Yeah, we definitely have talked about that on previous episodes. But if you're not in the loop, Hailey Bieber and Kendall have been spotted multiple times using the accessibility stalls to go to their Pilates classes and like have claimed, like different things like it's safety, we have to be close to the door, or like we didn't see that and like stuff like that. And it's just like, wake up. Like that's so bad.
Yeah, people do that these days. It's like, come on, evolve, please.
Literally. And you're totally right about like it being, I guess, normal celeb behavior, because there are multiple slideshows in this Reddit post about celebrities who can't be bothered to hold their own umbrellas. So I'll post that in the episode show notes too.
Yeah, apparently they just cannot be bothered. They need to have someone else to do it for them. Kind of like with do you remember with Prince Charles when he couldn't even be bothered to like handle his own stuff, and he was just like doing the whole brush off hand motion thing?
Yeah, and like with the pen and stuff too, when he was like signing documents and stuff, like like the dismissive brush of the hand
and his teeth, like didn't he like bare his teeth or something like that? It was like something weird in his mouth.
Like that's barbaric. But like you couldn't get more like demeaning and like dehumanizing than doing the like hand brush away motion. I hope people know what we're talking about in this audio only format. But
it happened last year. It was one of the big moments. So I hope people know about it. If you don't, you might, you can either look it up or just not look it up. You can take our word for it. Your choice.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's move on to Pettyweight Champion of the Week. This is the part of the show where our guest nominates a Pettyweight Champion of the Week, someone in the media who did something petty and it was iconic. Arthur, who are you nominating this week?
I'm going to nominate a TikToker, Cinema Joe, or that's his nickname, Joe Aragon. And so I follow him. He has TikTok again, specifically a film talker, and he's a host of a podcast, The House of Cinema. His podcast has a Discord server. That's actually the film Discord server that I've been bringing up multiple times. I'm part of that server, so we've got that one piece, Cinema Joe Aragon. There's another piece I have to bring in. It's a horror movie called Skinamarink, an indie horror movie that is just coming out in theaters, and it looks pretty terrifying from what I've seen. It's like kind of like this, it takes place inside a house, and it's got like it's based around a whole bunch of like ambient noises and like shots of like the house, and like kind of like this dark bluish lighting or gray lighting. It's a very distinct look. Like if you watch the trailer for it, it's a very like signature style. And so anyway, people have been raving about this. Like even before it officially came out, people were like, "Oh wow, this is like huge. This is terrifying, chilling." And then Joe Aragon went to see it, and then gave it a 2-star review, and not just gave it a 2-star review, but was like, "Holy crap!" When he came into the Discord server and was like, he essentially said like, "This movie sucks. I hate it," and to the point where it was like, and I want to say like, he's a critic, so I respect his opinion, so like,
yeah,
I respect his opinion, but it was like, damn, like you've got the fire of the criticism coming in here, and to the point where it's like he would take photos of his house, like the walls or the door frames in his house, and then maybe put some like lighting over it or filter and post it in the Discord server, and be like, hey, this is Skinamarink 2.
Oh my god!
I guess because he thought it was very boring. And so he was like, ooh. So once that happened, I was like, ooh, the pettiness is coming in here. I can select this for the podcast. Yeah. And then a whole bunch of us in the Discord server I'm kind of like making fun of him, and we'll write posts that say "in this house" because the phrase "in this house" is used in the trailer for Cinema Link. So it'll be like "in this house," and it'll post photos of like the walls and the door frames with their own like lighting or filter to make it look all creepy.
That's so funny and so boring.
I mean, it's petty. I felt like, it's. I mean, he's not, and I will say he's not typically like this. That's why it's so unusual for him. It's like, man, like, wow. And
there's
like,
something that really like got him going, like got him fired up.
Yeah, and it's boredom, and it's interesting. More people have been seeing it, and I feel like it's got mostly positive reviews. A few people haven't bored by it, so like him. So it's like, is he right? Is he wrong? I don't know. I'll see the movie sometime and be like, do I agree with him? Do I disagree with him?
Yeah, you'll have to let us know, but I love that. I love when people are irrationally petty about something that, again, like really only grinds their gears. Like,
yeah, it's just like, it's very amusing, and I can sympathize as like a podcaster who does dive into books and movies and TV shows, and sometimes there'll be stuff where it's like, oof, this bugs me, and I don't care if anyone else agrees with me, but it just bugs me personally. And I guess I'll express something like for example, I do not have love for Blade Runner 2049, even though it's a much-loved movie, but I've got some deep fires for Blade Runner 2049, just like Joe has deep fires for Cinema Link.
Yeah, I love that. That's so funny. I'm trying to think about what I have deep fire about, but a lot of things. That's what this podcast is all about. That's a perfect nomination. That's great. You'll have to let us know.
Cinema Joe. That is a TikTok. Yeah. Anyone, I'm also promoting as well. So Cinema Joe, anyone wants to talk about.
You'll have to know when you watch the movie what you think of it.
Definitely.
Okay. Finally, it's time for This Week in Petty, where Arthur is going to share a story about something that happened in real life that he's petty about. What are you petty about this week?
So this week in Petty, my event evolved around a Discord conversation I was having, and a book server where so the movie Bodies got brought up, and the conversation I entered the conversation, and I was like, but I like this movie quite a bit. Like, I gave it 4.5 stars in Letterboxd. And I really love it. It was one of my top 10 favorite movies of 2022. And then one of the other members, Kirby, was very much like, no, I hate this movie. This movie is shit. And
you're like, KK.
And okay, for some context, Kirby is a very, very, very stubborn individual. We've even said this, like we kind of like make a joke about it. Like, you're very stubborn, very forceful. You've got some strong opinions, and I find it very amusing. And I was coming in the conversation, and there was also and there was like the conversation. Yeah, bodies is shit. And I'm like, but I'm defending it. And then it translated to, later on, another conversation in the same server where Kirby was like, don't listen to Arthur. He's got some shit recommendations. And I was just like,
oh my god, how dare he?
It's a she.
Oh, sorry, my bad. How dare she?
Yeah, but again, very opinionated, and I find her to be very amusing. But I was like, I can't really defend myself. And I'm like, hey, I've got some good recs here. And Bodies is very good. And
it's literally what you do professionally.
Yes. And Kirby was like, no, you're wrong. And then I retaliated with a GIF, with this cute little duck that's holding up a trophy. And the GIF says, congratulations, you're wrong. In response to her trying to be like, no, bodies is horrible.
Oh, that's so funny. It's been a while, I feel like, since I've like got into like a disagreement with someone over like on Discord or Twitter or like Instagram or something like that.
Yeah, it happens sometimes.
Yeah.
With, especially with me, like, in this especially in the House of Cinema Discord server. Definitely, there are some very strong opinions that we'll get into there, and we're like, ooh, we chat sometimes, as we're sharing opinions.
Yeah.
So it's very entertaining.
Well, I will say over on the RTBP patron Discord, lots of strong takes, hot takes, but they're all met with support. and if people are being petty, it's usually like my friends towards me, not about anyone's movie recommendations or opinions on movies.
Hot takes. We do have a hot takes channel in the House of Cinema Discord server.
Nice. That's super fun. Love that. Okay, Arthur, this was so much fun. Where can the listeners find you and anything else you want to plug?
Well, first I want to thank you very much, Tori, for letting me come on here. This really was a blast.
Good. I had fun too.
If people want to find me, they can listen to 2 Cents Critic. Again, I cover books, movies, and TV shows on there. I come out with episodes, typically weekly. Although there are times when I'll come out as a bonus episode, maybe an author interview. So it happens sporadically, but most of the time it is just the main episodes. And people can find my podcast on Twitter and Instagram at 2_Cents Critic. You can follow my personal accounts on Twitter, GoodPod, Storygraph, Letterboxd, and TikTok at Arthur_and18. You can find me on Goodreads at Arthur Howell. You can email me at email2centscritic@yahoo.com. You can check out my blog at 2centscritic.com, and make sure you subscribe, rate, and review my podcast, 2 Cents Critic, wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's on iTunes, Stitcher, Anchor, Spotify, GoodPod, all of those services.
And go check out my episodes. I was on, again, thrice with Arthur, and we had some really good in-depth chat about those 2 books and movies. So definitely go check out 2 Cents Critic. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
And there you have it. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to Arthur for joining me on today's episode. I also want to say thank you to Playlist for editing today's episode. If you have made it here, thank you so much. If you're looking for more Ready to Be Petty content, head on over to patreon.com/RTBP podcast, where you can get 18 plus episodes of RTBP with some really fun guests, really interesting topics, and a little bit more spice for $5 a month. And you can follow me at RTBP Podcast on all social platforms. I hope you are safe and healthy out there. As always, I'm your host, Tori, and I'm ready to be petty. See you soon. Bye.